Of the over 2 million IDPs identified in Northeast Nigeria last year, 54% were female, and 60% of the surveyed people were under the age of 18. Many young girls and women fleeing from the devastation generated by Boko Haram have had to navigate their new lives as displaced people alone. In a lot of cases, their families had been slaughtered by terrorists or were detained arbitrarily by security personnel. Others fled forced marriages and sexual slavery after abduction by Boko Haram fighters, risking their lives to achieve freedom. When this second group of girls arrived at IDP camps or host communities, they often face prejudice from other IDPs who assume their loyalty is to Boko Haram. True stories of forced captivity are shrouded in secrecy and fear. The perception of these girls' allegiance to Boko Haram leads to significant barriers to their receiving adequate aid as IDPs, including food, as discussed in our last video. We recommend watching that video about ineffective food distribution mechanisms for IDPs fleeing Boko Haram before watching this one. Because non-IDPs are sometimes able to purchase food rations meant for displaced people, the amount of available food aid isn't enough for all IDPs. Girls and women marked with the stain of having lived side by side with Boko Haram fighters are frequently barred from accessing food rations. Without a support system or family to help them, they have no currency but to trade sex for food and shelter. Survival sex is exchanged between IDPs and camp officials. It is a violation of the displaced women's social and economic rights under international law. It is not only Boko Haram abductees who have become victims. Fatima was just 11 years old when her family was killed by Boko Haram terrorists. She escaped captivity by traveling with her aunt to an IDP camp in Maiduguri, where the same aunt pimped her out to sleep with men for money. Fatima couldn't access meal rations because of her reputation, even as other IDPs and residents of Maiduguri raped her for money. Fatima said of herself and her friends also engaged in survival sex. They chased us away, and when we came back, there was still no food card. It was very hard. We were suffering, she said. Other reports cite girls who had no choice but to sleep with camp officials. One victim was just 13 years old when she was forced to exchange sex for money and essential items. Although only a child, she was raped by more than 20 soldiers and camp officials. In her testimony, she said there is no way to cater to yourself here without surrendering to the sexual assaults of officials. In some cases, vulnerable girls are made to work through magajias, older women in camps who pimp them out. From orphans to their own daughters, these girls are required to return the money they earn to a magajia in exchange for a small percentage and sometimes food and shelter. Rape and sexual assault beyond survival sex remains a daily threat to girls and women in IDP camps and settlements. They are at risk of sexual violence from fellow IDPs, host community members, and camp officials, and these perpetrators often go scot-free. In 2019, however, in a rare case of justice, an Air Force officer who raped a 14-year-old IDP searching for firewood in Maiduguri was arrested and dismissed from service. Girls marked as social pariahs after fleeing Boko Haram sometimes muster the strength to leave IDP camps and communities only to return to their captors, where at least they can access food. The World Food Programme, which organizes food rations, reported in its 2019-2022 strategic plan for Nigeria that sexual and gender-based violence, including rape, is rampant due to the ongoing conflict, insecurity, and poor conditions in internally displaced persons camps and informal settlements. Sexual exploitation is also a major concern with widespread allegations. This is part 5 of our video series explaining insecurity drivers in northern Nigeria. We're breaking down major indicators of violent conflict and covering the communities most impacted by it. With support from the MacArthur Foundation, Human Angle is working to strengthen investigative and data-driven journalism in order to reduce corruption.